गुरु ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुर्साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां भिषजे भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। हरिः ओम्। ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैः स्तुष्टुवागंसस्तनूभिः यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। जय गुरुदेव। Have you ever thought why we say Shanti 3 times? Om Shanti 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 at the end of all Shanti mantras. There are 3 tapatrayas. Tapatraya can be loosely translated as botheration. It's a bit more than a botheration. So these tapatrayas, what they do, they bind the jiva to the world. There is a word called Hridaya Granthi that comes in one of the shlokas in the Drigdrishya Viveka. Means the heart chakra. The heart chakra is the center chakra. Below that there are 3 chakras, above that there are 3 chakras. And if you look at most of the Upanishads, they say, where does the Purusha exist? In the heart, in a cave in your heart. So it's the center of our existence. And this center of our existence gets bound by 3 knots. These 3 knots cause the 3 tapatrayas. Tapa means what you call fire. Tapas comes from tapa, means being fried actually. So when you go through the unpleasant willingly, that is called tapas. Tapa is the fire, the things that burn you down in your life, that which bother you. And there are 3 types of these tapas or tapatraya. So called Adi Bhautika, Adi Daivika and Adhyatmika. These are very commonly used in the Upanishadic language. Even Krishna uses them in the Gita. So this basically, in very simple terms, it means the physical, mental and spiritual realms. What happens in the physical realm? What are the things that bother us the physical realm? Your health. I'm fat, I'm thin, I'm dark, I'm young looking, whatever is related to the bodily level. It's maybe this body or other bodies. All the problems you face in relation to the gross body. That is Adi Bhautika. And the problems you face at the mind level is Adi Daivika. Adi Daivika means what? The gross world is run by the subtle angels, subtle energies. So whatever you are undergoing, all the worries, all the suffering, all the misery, all the stress is this mental tapatraya, Adi Daivika. and you attribute that to some angels whom you are not satisfied. So you engage in rituals, in prayers. You try to please them so that these go away. And then you got Adhyatmika. Adhyatmika is at the level of the self. What are the spiritual botherations? Oh, am I making any progress or not? Why am I still getting angry? I've been doing these practices for such a long time and still I don't seem to have changed. I'm not happy with what's happening. So this level. And these three tapatrayas burn us down. They keep us worried and they engage us strongly in the world. And there are reasons for this. There are three main reasons. These are called as karma, kama and avidya. For Adi Bhautika, at the physical level, whatever we experience is karma. This body itself is a product of prarabdha karma. All the interactions that happens between this body and all the bodies around you is karma related. So the reason for the Adi Bhautika Tapatraya is karma. And the reason for Adi Daivika, the mental Tapatraya, the mental worries, all that we undergo is kama. Kama means desire. Desire brings attachment and fear, and all the problems we undergo in life is because of these three things: desire, fear, attachment. This is the second knot which binds you. So desire, fear and attachment is the source of all the stress and worries. All the suffering happens at this level. Just look into it a little more closely. You lose something, you lose some money, you lose a job, or you lose respectability. That event has happened, but you keep on playing it again and again. Where? In your mind. Do you see this? So the mental level misery is because of kama, the desires. And then the spiritual level is because of ignorance, not able to have this viveka to separate the real from the unreal, the matter from the spirit, and imagining the matter to be real and trying to find a solution. Most people who come on the spiritual path come with this attitude. They don't come for liberation. They don't come for knowledge of the self also. They come so that their blood pressure will go down a little bit, that diabetes will be better controlled, or they're able to manage their stress. I want to do all the rubbish I'm doing, but in a better way. So that's the attitude of coming into the path. Not, you see, this is ignorance. You are coming into the right arena, but with the wrong attitude. And that causes, then what the results are you looking of? Oh, my anger is not coming down. My blood pressure is not coming down. Maybe I'm not making any progress. This is your yardstick to see whether you are progressing or not. Do you see this? It's a very immature way of looking at yourself. So this is the third reason for the third type of tapa. So whenever you take a Shanti mantra, what do you say? Let these three tapatrayas calm down. Only then you are able to attain to knowledge. As long as these are not pacified, I am still hanging somewhere in the middle, in spite of all my efforts. Do you see what I am saying? And these refer to the gross, subtle and the causal bodies as well. So at different levels, these things happen. And what are the solutions? For the tapatraya that happens at the bodily level through karma, the solution is what? Karma yoga, yajna, what Krishna says. Engage in actions, giving your 100% to the actions without attaching yourself to the fruit of the action. That action which is expected of you as part of the order of the universe, as part of your dharma, engage in that not wanting to produce a result, but because that is your dharma to engage in that action. Engage 100% in your action, this bodily tapatrayas will go away. And that is called yajna. Engage in yajna. And for the adi daivika tapatraya, what is it you need to undergo? That is bhakti. You got desires, okay, you can't get over your desires, direct all of them to the divine. You got attachment, attach to the divine. You got fear, fear of losing the divine. So direct all your vices towards the divine, then the mental botherations will settle down. Instead of imposing your desires on transitory people and things around you, impose it on the divine. And the solution for the spiritual restlessness, restlessness may be a better word than botheration, is knowledge. Be in knowledge, and that will take you through. Open up the viveka in you. Once the viveka comes up, hold on to it. See, not that we don't have viveka, we just don't have that dhruti to hold on to it. You know what is good for you, what is not good for you. Somewhere you don't have that resolve to hold on to that. Yeah? So in the Kathopanishad, Yama tells Nachiketa how to attain the knowledge of the self. He says, by listening to lectures you won't get it. By reading scriptures you won't get it. By reflecting on what you listen, then also you won't get it. Then how will I get it? Only when you crave for it. When you crave for the self and self alone, then the self will reveal itself to you. Until then, all your efforts are half-hearted. You're putting your feet in both the boats. You want to have a piece of the cake of the world as well, and somewhere you want to hold on to God as well. That will not work. Self is very precious until you let go. Like it happens in the Mahabharata. Until Draupadi lets go of both her hands and says, I can't do it anymore, only then Krishna will come to support her. Until then he says, you carry on. You are putting 50% effort by yourself to protect yourself, and you are asking me to come and do something in the meantime. So he says, only self will decide whom to reveal itself to, and it will only reveal itself to one who asks for it sincerely. And that and nothing else. See, knowledge, so being in knowledge will take you across this third step of not. And when the knowledge of self awakens in you, the three will be removed straight away. And that's what the prayojanas in Drigdrishya Viveka of Samadhi says. Once you get the knowledge of the self, what happens? The heart chakra opens up. The suspicions are all destroyed. And whatever that person does, that becomes Samadhi. Any action you engage in, that is equanimous. That keeps you. Because what do? You see everything and say, everything is a dream like. See, for example, you wake up from a dream and you are having a very bad dream. Okay? You wake up, and the moment you woke up, you have got no relation to the dream anymore, isn't it? You won't say, in the dream, I did something bad, I want to go on to apologize to that person, otherwise it will come into the next dream. Will you say that? No, you won't. You'll say, well, I was dreaming, it's over. That's all. Similarly, when you wake up, when the liberation, the knowledge in you awakens, then this transactional reality appears like a dream. So you're not trying to fix anything. You're not trying to say, oh, I've done this, if I don't do this, then the next life I have to carry over this karma. You don't do that in your dream. Similarly, when this transactional reality becomes dreamlike, you don't try to fix anything. You are just there witnessing, oh, it is over, it is happening. You go to a movie, the movie is happening on the screen, you don't try to fix the story there. You just watch it. Because you know that is passing. That is an imaginary thing. So these three type of tapatrayas, restlessness will bind us down, bind the jiva to the matter. And how do you overcome it? Through karma yoga, through bhakti, and through action. These are three paths: the path of action, the path of bhakti, and the path of knowledge. And then you see, in the path of action and the path of knowledge, there is still duality. Me and all these people around me is the path of action. Adi Bhautika, bodies and bodies. Adi Daivika, me and the angels, the gods. In Adhyatmika, me and nobody else. So Vedanta doesn't give you anything to rest. It says only you. Only you can pull yourself out. Uddharet atmanatmanam atmaneva avasadayet, Krishna says. Only you can pull yourself out of your pit. And only I have got nothing to do with your misery. I stand far away. I am only seeing from here. I am only seeing the movie. You have written the script. You are playing it. You suffer it. If you want, you come out of it. Do you see this? So it's very important to have this awareness in us that in the path of knowledge, you are your own support. There is no other support. And that is why it is instantaneous. The moment you are aware that I am awake, the dream stops instantly. It is not the dream takes a few minutes and then stops. Similarly, the moment the knowledge dawns in you, it's all gone. That's why the path of Vedanta is so powerful. It is instantaneous. And it is not difficult, I tell you. We all think, oh, it is difficult. It is hypothetical. What is self? This all appears here. Self appears somewhere distant. I tell you, the most hypothetical path is path of bhakti. You don't know who God is. You don't know what God is. You walk so many steps up to Tirupati. You make all these things, offerings. To whom are you making? You don't even know that. You never meet that. But then the whole world moves in that direction. Things that is real. I'm not telling it is not real. What I'm telling is that is more unreal than the path of knowledge, where it is has such sharp logic and understanding to it. Do you understand? It is experiential. We are experiencing this in every session. We go through this separating ourselves from what we are not and then landing in what we are. And all that Vedanta is saying is just hold on to that which is finite, infinite, and stay there. And you'll see that all the finite will be moving away from you. Yeah? So, then it comes, why this is all happening? It's because of Maya. And before we go to the Maya, there are three other things. It's called Shruti, Tarka and Anubhava. Same thing as Shravana, Manana and Nidhyasa. These are the steps of overcoming. Shruti is, now I'm telling you about this Tapatraya, you hear about, you listen to them. That's just the first level. You basically, okay, oh, this is Tapatraya. And then Tarka is, you use your intellect to analyze and understand. Gross body listens through the ears. The subtle body, the intellect, analyzes and understands. It's the causal body experiences. Until you experience, it is incomplete. It is just a borrowed knowledge. So don't stop. Yes, you need to understand, you need to reflect, but then don't get stuck in the intellect by asking too many questions. What is this? What is that? Those are small little things. These are only pointers for you. You need to move on to the experiential aspect. No matter how many videos you watch about an ice cream, you will never taste it until you put it in your mouth. You keep on asking questions. Is ice cream only white? Can't it be brown? Can't it be red? Is it only cold? These questions are relevant. At the same time, if it's not going to support your experience of eating an ice cream, there is no point. So this also you need to understand what? Shruti, Tarka, Anubhava. I'm just introducing new words because if at some point, if any of you get interested in reading the Upanishads, you will find these words coming to you and then you should be able to relate to them. You should not stop until you got the experience of the self. That is why we always meditate. In fact, that is the only thing which gives you the experience. All this is just a dressing around. Yeah? So why the unreal appears real? We know it's because of Maya. And the easiest way to understand Maya is if you understand virtual reality. So I'm assuming most of you, if not all of you, have experienced virtual reality at least once in your life. You put on those virtual reality glasses and headphones. You experience that, right? You see what happens. You put the glass, you put the headphone, and suddenly a new world appears in front. That world is not there. You very well know it is not there, but you can't refute it. It is so real, isn't it? I once went to a theme park in Bangalore, and then there was a plank which was as wide as a yoga mat, and it was about say 10 feet long, and that plank was slightly unstable. If you in a stool, if one of the legs is little short, a little bit not so very steady, so but you could easily walk on it. So that chap asked us to walk on it from this end to that end, and then he put us this virtual reality and he said, now walk. So the moment you put that thing, what you are seeing through your eyes is that you are standing on a glass bridge between two tall buildings. Okay, and underneath it's quite deep. The moment you put your first step, the plank slightly shakes, and you will feel that in there. And then you will hear the sound of the wind blowing through, and an helicopter coming just behind you. You know very well that this is not real, but you cannot walk freely anymore. Those 10 steps become a torture. Just 10 seconds ago, you walked so easily on that. Now you can't walk. This is Maya. This is how it works. So every time you are distressed in life, you are worried about something is really bothering you, some tapatraya is caught up onto you, become aware of this example. I'm wearing the glasses, I have to take them off. Because of this virtual reality glasses, what is not is appearing as what is, and that's why I'm undergoing all this tapatraya. See, so many gadgets are there for us to realize that yes, just like that, this whole world is appearing. You think I am seeing it. Yes, you see in that virtual reality as well. But why is it not real? So that is why the two other terms, it's called nimitta and upadana. These are called upadis. Upadi means shadow or a reflection or a projection, whatever you want to call. For everything in the material world, there is a nimitta karana and the upadana karana. Nimitta karana means the intellectual cause. Upadana karana is the material cause. So for this world to appear, what is the intellectual cause? Is Brahman. Because without the Brahman, without the light, there is no shadow. The shadow may not be as complete as the light, but without the light, when the light disappears, there is no shadow also. So because of the Brahman, because of the consciousness, this exists. The world exists. The matter exists. But what is the upadana karana? What is because of which the matter appears is Maya. So Maya is the upadana karana. Brahman is the nimitta karana. Okay, so whenever you see any projection, you have to say this is only upadi because of a medium. White light is everywhere. You put a prism, 7 lights appear. The prism is the upadana. Because of the prism, the 7 lights appear. When the prism is taken away, the 7 lights disappear. So it is like the Brahman is wearing this glass of Maya, and then this world is appearing. The moment the glass is taken off, it is just pure consciousness. Yeah. At this point in time, even if it appears very theoretical, just believe in it. Just have faith in this. And I will tell you slowly this will become a reality. Okay. So it's very interesting, all these things. These words will be very useful for you when you do further exploration. That's why I'm introducing these proper words to you, so that it's there in your awareness. Yeah. And then there are 3 spaces. These are called akashas. If you read Yoga Vasishta, this comes very frequently. Bhutakasha, Chittakasha and Chidakasha. This is nothing but the space. So we are talking about this example. See, you got a pot, okay? You fill a pot with water and you move the pot from here to there. Will the water move with the pot? Yes or no? Yes, it must. You can be sure it does move, isn't it? Water won't stay there with the pot, and water will move with the pot. Now you take an empty pot and move it from here to there. Will the space move with the pot? Or will the clay move through the space? Will the pot move through the space, or will the pot move with the space? Think about this. Before the pot was made, that space was here, okay? So say suppose in this room I have a pottery workshop. I've got clay in front of me. Okay, this space is all here. Now I use that clay and make a pot. So now in that pot there is space. Did I borrow that space and put it inside the pot? So where was that space? That space was always there. So when I move the pot, what happens? The pot moves through the space. It does not carry the space with it. The space is always there. The space is unchanging. Are you all awake? Are you getting this? Is very important. If you get this, a lot of things become very clear to you. Now say I make 10 pots in this room. And all the 10 pots, they have got space inside them. But it is not the space of the pot. It is the space, that's all. It can be 100 pots, does not matter. And say you break all the pots, what happens to the space? Nothing happens. The space is there, that's all. That is how the Brahman is. That is how the witness is. The matter changes. The matter appears, disappears, breaks, gets old, gets warm. The space just stays there, unchanged. Are you getting this? But, however, for the purpose of understanding, they say, okay, this pot, there is a space outside the pot. When the pot breaks, the space inside merges with the space outside. It was always one only. And just for the sake of explanation, that says, okay, this is Jivatma and that is Paramatma. And what separates them is this matter. When the matter is ignored, then the Jivatma and Paramatma are the same. The individual self and the universal self. Jiva Brahmeti Napara. It is not different at all. So, this space which the body holds is called as Bhutakasha. Bhuta means elements within the matter, the space which is held. And suppose this pot is in this room. Okay? Now this room is like a bigger pot. There is space in this room as well. And there are walls which cover it, like the walls of a pot. So in this transactional world, when I'm awake, in this waking reality, I see so many names and forms. What are they doing? They are all floating in the space. When I close my eyes, what happens? I still see names and forms, but they are all floating in the inner space. That space of the mind is called Chittakasha. It is like the pot is in the room, that's the space in the room. But that is also limited by the walls. It is not unlimited. But outside the room, there is an unlimited space. Nothing is holding that space. That is called Chidakasha. That is pure consciousness. But is there any difference between the space in the pot, in the room, and outside the room? No. One day the walls were not there, the space was still there. One day the pot was not there, the space was still there. Now the pot has come, the walls have come, the space has not changed. It's the same space. Is this clear? This is very important. So the bodies appear and disappear. Death is like breaking of the pot. Liberation is like breaking of the room. So that entire space comes into, there is no barrier anywhere. So there is no point in worrying for that, because when the pot breaks, what happens? Nothing changes for the space within you. As long as you identify with the pot, then you have lost something, you have gained something. When you stop identifying with the matter, identifying with the space, then you say, I'm always there. So this knowing the difference between the pot and the space is viveka. And not knowing the space and the pot, and you think that the pot is real and the space is unreal, is ajnana, avidya. Is this making sense? Yeah. So keep in mind all these new terms, but the same knowledge. We discussed all this. We just given some names for these things. What we'll do is when we go back to this chapter 13, we will see, when we will go through it so quickly, you'll be able to grasp it like this, because you now know what Krishna is saying. Yeah? Okay. So what we'll do now is, we'll meditate first. We'll meditate through these three akashas and experience them, and then we'll come back to the talk. Okay? So let's sit comfortably. So now you should be able to understand this more easily. We'll just go to the chapter 13 shlokas. Idam shariram kaunteya kshetramityabhidhiyate etadyo vetitam prahu kshetragna iti tadvidaha. Kshetragna chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata kshetra kshetragna yoga yog jnanam yat tat jnanam matam mama. This body, here body includes gross and the subtle body. This body is called as the scenery, and one who understands the scenery is the seer. And in this entire creation, I am the seer of all the scenery. And this knowledge of the scenery and the seer is the ultimate. This is my opinion. ऋषिभिः बहुधा गीतं छन्दोभिः विविधैः पृथक् ब्रह्मसूत्र उपदैश्चैव हेतुमद्भिर्विनिश्चितैः. This has been sung by various enlightened people in various forms before. It has also been explained in the Upanishads like the Brahma Sutra. Mahabhutani ahankaro buddhihi avyaktameva cha indriyani dashayikam cha pancachendriya agocharaha ichcha dvesha sukham dukkha sangatas chetana dhrutihi etat kshetra samasena savikara udahritam. So it's very similar to what we know, that this scenery is made up of the 5 elements, 5 pranas, the 4 antahkaranas, the 10 indriyas. Here he calls the mind as the 11th indriya, dashaikam he says. Ahankara, buddhi and mind, he keeps them separate. But elsewhere in the Upanishads we have seen them to be part of the antahkarana, mind, memory, intellect and ego. Avyaktam. Avyaktam is the unmanifest, which is the Purusha. So Avyaktam, Purusha is from which or the causal body from which the scenery is generated. And this scenery experiences duality in the form of Ichcha, Dvesha, Sukha, Dukkha, Sangatas, Chetana, Dhriti. Craving and aversion, pleasure and pain, inertia and activity, and dhruti, the resolve or will. And all this together come to form the scenery. Now, before he goes to say who is the seer, he gives the qualifications to understand the seer. He says that this is the scenery, anybody can know this. But who is the seer? To realize who is the seer, he says, you need these qualifications. What are they? Amanitvam, adambatvam, ahimsa, kshantihi, arjavam, acharya upasanam, shaucham, stairyam, atma vinigraha, indriyarteshu vairagyam, anahankara evacha, Janma mrityu jara vyadi dukkha dosha anudarshanam. Amanitvam, humility. Adambitvam, lack of arrogance. Ahimsa, lack of aggressiveness. Kshantihi, ability to forgive. Arjavam, sincerity. Acharya upasanam, respect for the masters of the tradition. Shaucham, cleanliness. Sthiryam, stability. Atma vinigraha, say over the senses. Indriyarteshu vairagyam, dispassion towards the sensory pleasures. Anahankara, lack of ego. Janma mrityu jara vyadi dukkha dosha anudarshanam, constantly reflecting on the perishable nature of this scenery. Janma mrityu, born, dies. Jara vyadi, gets old, gets diseased. Dukkha dosha, suffers and is imperfect. So become aware of all these things which pertain to the scenery. One who is aware that the scenery is the changing and perishable, imperfect aspect of the creation. Asakti anabhishvangaha putra dara gruhadishu nityancha samachittatvam ishtanishta upapattishu. Asakti, not too interested. Anabhishvangaha, not clinging to what putra dara gruhadishu. Here it means wife, children and house. Literally you can take possessions. Whatever you call as mine, not being too attached or clinging on to them as the source of your happiness or your life. Nityancha samachittatvam, always being able to have an equanimous attitude, whether things happen the way you want or not. Ishta nishta upapattishu, whether life turns the way you want or the other way, being able to have equanimity. Mayi cha ananya yogena bhaktir avyabhicharini vivikta desha sevitam aratir jana samsadi. Mayi cha ananya yogena, one who is able to focus on me constantly through discipline and bhakti, through love. So if you are able to attend to yourself lovingly and through discipline, and vivikta desha sevitam, when you are happy to be left alone, aratir jana samsadi, when you develop a sort of aversion to socializing, unnecessary socializing. Adhyatma gnana nityatvam tattva gnanartha darshanam, constantly engaging in the pursuit of knowledge to seek the ultimate truth. Etad gnanam iti proktam agnanam yadot anyata. All this you do which leads to this is knowledge. Everything else is useless, is ignorance, avidya. And now he says, what is it that is worth knowing? He told what is the scenery. Then he told what are the qualifications to receive knowledge. Now he is saying, what is knowledge? What is worth knowing? Gneyam yattat pravakshyami yattat gnatva amrutam ashnute anadi matparam brahmana sat na asad uchyate. Now I will tell you what is worth knowing. Once you know that, you become immortal. Mortality is for the pot, not for the space. The moment you realize you are space, then you are immortal. You realize that you are immortal. Anadi matparam Brahma, this Brahman which has been eternal. Na sat na asad uchyate. It is not the manifest, it is also not the unmanifest. It is beyond both. See, Purusha is the one with the Maya which a desire to manifest. That is called avyakta, unmanifest. Purusha does not manifest. Prakriti manifests. And Brahman is beyond the manifest and the unmanifest. Sarvatah panipadam tat sarvato akshishiro mukham sarvata shrutiman loke sarvam avrutya tishtati. Now he starts explaining the qualities of this Brahman. Sarvatah panipada, it has hands and feet everywhere. It has got eyes everywhere. It can see everywhere. It can listen to everything. It in summary, encompasses everything, just like the space, just like the sky encompasses the entire creation. This Brahman is in which everything is floating. Sarvendriya gunabhasam sarvendriya vivarjitam asaktam sarvabruchaiva nirgunam gunabhoktucha. All sensory experiences are through this, but it does not have any sense organs. It is not interested in this creation at all, but the creation does not exist without it. Nirgunam gunam. It is free of all gunas, but all gunas function through this only. I don't know whether Krishna told it this way, but I think Vyasa is a very great poet. He put it so beautifully. See, Upanishads are just statements like postulates. There is no poetry in that. And that's why Gita is so beautiful. It is expressing the truth as a poem. Bahirantahcha bhutanam acharam charameva cha sukshmatvavat avigneyam durastam chantike chatat. Another beautiful verse. It's outside and inside everything. It's within the moved, within mobile and immobile. It is so subtle that it can't be known so easily. Durastam cha antike chatat. It is appears so far away, yet it is so near. Avibhaktam cha bhuteshu vibhaktimeva cha sthitam bhuta bhartu cha tatneyam grasishnu prabhavishnu cha. This space is indivisible, but appears as if divided in the innumerable beings. It appears as if it is occupied many parts, but it in fact is just there. Bhuta bhartu tatneyam grasishnu prabhavishnu cha. All the parts have come out of this, stay in this, dissolve into this. So thus this space is the creator, sustainer and destroyer of everything that is material. Jyotishamapi tad jyotis tamasah paramuchyate gnayam gnanam gneyam gnanagamyam hridi sarvasya vishtitam. It is brighter than the brightest. Darkness cannot come close to it at all. It is indeed the knowledge. It is also the knower, and it is also the object of knowledge. And this, which encompasses everything, is inside you. It stays in your heart. See, in the Kathopanishad again, Yama tells Nachiketa, in the cave of your heart there are two birds. There are two jivas sitting. One is the jiva which identifies with the mind, the transactional self. Other is the jiva which identifies with the witness, the paramarthika jiva. This is what is in this paramarthika jiva is within you only. That space is within the pot as well, but it is not limited to the pot. It is the same space in there. Iti kshetram tata gnanam gneyam cha uktam samasataha mad bhakta etad vignaya mad bhavayo upapadyate. This is the knowledge of the scenery and the seer. My devotee who knows this has known me. Prakritim purusham chaiva vidhi anadi ubhavapi vikaranshta gunans chaiva vidhi prakriti sambhavan. Prakriti and Purusha, which is the matter and spirit, is anadi. Drigdrishya also said the same thing. Maya is anadi, Brahman is anadi. So this creation is also anadi. So it is beginningless. You can't say there was a point when it was not there and then it started. So it's a Prakriti and Purusha, both the matter and spirit are anadi, are beginningless. Vikarancha gunachaiva vidhi prakriti sambhavan. But vikara, the distortion and changes and the influence of the gunas happen only to the matter, to the prakriti, not to the spirit. Karya karana kartrutve hetu prakriti ruchyate purusha sukha dukkhanam bhoktrutve hetu ruchyate. When the jiva identifies with the matter, then it engages in action. action, doer, and the results of the action. It gets engages in that, and by engaging in that, what happens? Sukha dukkhanam bhoktrutve heturuchyate. It starts enjoying and suffering the results of those activities as pleasure and pain, as joy and suffering. Once again, he says this is Prakriti. This happens to matter, not to the spirit. Purusha prakritisto hi bhungte prakriti jan gunan karanam guna sango asya sadasadyoni janmasu. Now, in this shloka, when he says Purusha, it does not mean Brahman, he means the Jivatma. That Jiva which identifies with the matter, engages in the world, engages in the action, experiences the results of the action, and depending upon the quality of the action and its results, it is born again and again in different wombs, and thus life perpetuates. Thus the pots break, new pots are recycled. The pots break and they are formed, but the space stays. Now he told all this about the pot. Now he is going to talk about the space. He says, Upadrashta Anumanta cha bharta bhokta maheshwaraha paramatmeti chapyukto dehe asmin purushah paraha. In the same body there is another jiva which exists, which you call Paramatma. What does he do? Upadrashta, he is the witness. Anumanta, he is the one who permits all this drama to happen. Cha bharta cha bhokta maheshwaraha. He sustains everything, and through him only all the enjoyment and experiences happen. Ya evam veti purusham prakritim cha gunaihi saha sarvata vartamanopi na sabhuyo abhijayate. One who knows this difference between these two jivas, the jiva that engages in the world, the jiva that just witnesses, he will not be born again, irrespective of how he is right now. So this is what it means. Instant liberation, the path of knowledge. The moment the realization, the moment the dream is over, you wake up, it was a dream, the dream is over, that's it. There is no however your state was in your dream, it does not matter. But you are not going to be the dreamer again. Dhyayen atmani pashyanti kechid atmanam atmana anye sankhena yogena karma yogena chapare. Some realize this through meditation. Some realize this through mindfulness. Some realize this through analysis and reflection. Some through yoga and some through action. Karma yoga. There are some others who are incapable of doing any of this by themselves, so they surrender to a wise person and follow their instructions, and they also reach the same. Yavat sanjayate kinchit tat satvam sthavara jangamam kshetra kshetragna samyoga tat vidhi bharatarshaba. All that you see and experience in this world, know it is a combination of the matter and spirit, of the manifest and the unmanifest, of the real and the unreal. For a movie to happen, you need a screen as well as the projection of the movie. The screen stays completely disinterested. The screen has got no relation to the movie, and it is not interested in the movie also. It was there before the movie started. It will be there after the movie ends. It is there when the movie is playing as well. But they both stayed together. Only then a movie happens. So everything in the creation is a combination of the unmanifest and the manifest, the witness and the transaction, Paramarthika and Vyavaharika Jiva. They are both together. One is looking out, one is looking in. Samam pashyan hi sarvatra samavastitam ishwaram na hinastya atmanam atmanam tato yati param gatim. One who is able to see this oneness in all the creation, that all the creation made up of what? The same substance called Brahman, the same projection called Prakriti. One who is able to see this and is not deluded by his own mind, only that person is able to rise above the matter and reach the ultimate. प्रकृत्यैव च कर्माणि क्रियमाणानि सर्वशः यः पश्यति तथात्मान कर्तारं स पश्यति. One who sees that all activity, all actions are happening in the Prakriti as a product of the gunas, and there is the witness which is not participating in any actions, only he sees. Only he sees action and inaction happening at the same time. Action through the Vyavaharika Jiva, inaction through the Paramarthika Jiva. Only he knows the truth of this. यदा भूत पृथक भावमेकम अस्तम अनुपश्यति तथैव च विस्तारम ब्रह्म संपद्यते तदा. Only that person who sees the same Brahman in different beings, only he realizes the Brahman. Anaditvat, nirgunatvat, paramatmat, ayam avyayah, sharirasto api kaunteya na karoti na lipyate. This Brahman, this self, Anadi, it's eternal. Nirguna, it's attributeless. Paramatma, it is the witness. Avyaya, it is imperishable. Sharirasto api na karoti na lipyate. Even though it is in this perishable body, it does nothing, nothing is attached to it. It is untouched. Asangoha. Yatha sarvagatam saukshmyat akasham nopalipyate. Sarvatra avastito dehe tatatmanopalipyate. Just like everything in this creation is within the sky, but the sky remains untouched by it. Similarly, everything is within the Brahman, but it is not touched the Brahman. Yata prakashatyekah kutsna lokamevam ravihi kshetram kshetri tata krutsnam prakashayati bharata. Just like the same sun enters all the rooms, it's the same witness illuminates all the jivas in the world. Kshetra kshetragnayor evam antaram jnana chakshusa bhuta prakriti moksham chaye vidur yanti te param. One who thus realizes this difference. See here in this entire chapter it does not speak about Maya. In this one verse he gives a hint. One who knows how to differentiate between the scenery and the seer through the eyes of Viveka, through Gnana Chakshusha, Bhuta Prakriti Moksham, he becomes free from the matter and reaches the ultimate. So what binds is the matter. How do you become free from the matter? Just separate it from the self. And the inability to separate is what Maya does. Maya covers this difference, covers the boundaries between the two, and so it appears one. In the influence of Maya, what happens? The matter is superimposed on the spirit. But when the Gnana Chakshu opens up, when the third eye opens up, you are able to separate the matter and the spirit, and then you are not impacted by the matter and you stay with the spirit. See how quickly we finished this whole chapter. Within 10 minutes is over. Because you are all now experts in this knowledge. Do you see? Once we have a background, how easy it is to move through. And see, it's the same thing which we discussed, Krishna has told in a slightly different way, but exactly the same. Do you see this? Very good. It is because I wanted you all to get this very clearly, the scenery and the seer. We just digressed and went to the Drugdrishya Viveka. But I think that was a good way, because now it's a lot more substantive, isn't it? And there is so much more clarity on this. Yeah, if you had just listened or read this chapter without any of this, it would have just made some sense, but not as much as we have gone through. We have spent almost 6 weeks just for this one chapter, and it is all worth it. Yeah? Very good. Very good. Yeah? And did you experience this as well? The moment you fed something unpleasant to the mind, it was experienced in the body as well. You felt that heaviness and lightness in the body as you fed different things to your mind. Yeah, did any of you have this experience during the meditation? When you started thinking about the pleasant memories, you experienced lightness in the body as well. Yeah, that is good, good, good. So that is very important. All the suffering happens at the level of the mind. And if you keep on feeding that to the mind, it happens more in the body. That is why all the diseases come in the body. When the mind is not healthy, the body becomes unhealthy as well. When the mind is healthy and pleasant, the body also becomes healthy and pleasant. So if you can't realize that my mind and body is unreal, at least feed something pleasant to the mind so that the body feels the pleasantness. Okay? Brilliant. ॐ सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् लोका समस्ता सुखिनो भवन्तु लोका समस्ता सुखिनो भवन्तु लोका समस्ता सुखिनो भवन्तु ॐ शान्ति हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः जय गुरुदेव।